Oh, behave yourselves.
Oh.
All right, guys. Welcome to episode 125 of WP Roundtable. My name is Kyle, and I'm excited to be here tonight with a couple of my very good friends, Mr. John Parkinson. How are you doing this evening?
Kyle, how are you today?
Doing pretty good. Coming at you from buried under a foot of snow in Michigan. How's the weather down there in Ohio, my friend?
Actually, it's sunny and 73. I hate to rub it in, but
oh.
No, it's we had a little bit of an ice storm this morning, but it warmed up enough to melt it off, and everything's fine right now. About 25 to 27, I guess. But it's winter, so
it's winter. It's winter. I'm feeling festive. We thought
really
we had snow weeks ago, and it took this long, second week of December, before we're getting any snow. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We look forward to this, and we enjoy it for a couple of days.
Then you want to move south.
Yeah. Right now, we're still in the honeymoon phase with this year's batch of snow. It looks beautiful out. So, John, we've got a guest on the show today. Someone special, someone very, very special, who also knows what cold weather is like. Our good friend, Mr. Brian Hogg. How are you doing tonight?
Very good. How are you?
Super great. Super excited to have you here with us. We got our cocoa. You've got your tea. We're going to have a good night.
Out of a WordPress Hamilton mug that the fine folks who helped organize made for me. And it's got a web
nice.
Oh. Wonderful, wonderful. I've got my WordCamp Ann Arbor mug, so we are representing our respective camps.
There's nothing actually in the mug. It's just for show. I have my actual mug with tea in it here.
You didn't have to tell everyone. So before we learn all about Brian, because he is the man of the hour today, we're going to cover our quick picks of the week. This is where we dive into something recent that we have discovered, uncovered, learned, accomplished. So my quick pick is a blog post that I read. So one of the coolest people, it can't be disputed. One of the coolest people in the WordPress community, Mr. John James Jacoby, great guy, wrote a blog post recently, and he is embarking on kind of a new initiative, which he expresses in a much better way than I could here on his blog. So if you go to jjj.blog, which is a great domain, you will see his most recent blog post, which is titled with a couple emojis. So take a look at it and read about what Triple J is trying to do. It's pretty cool. He has some precedence for this effort personally, but there's not really much of any other precedence in the WordPress community for somebody trying to do exactly what he is advocating for. So I'm a huge supporter of his. I think he definitely needs community support with this effort. I think he's going to be successful with it. And so I want to just let everybody know about it. That's my quick pick. John, do you have something to share?
Actually, I do, Kyle. A few weeks ago, I went ahead. I had 3 domain names up for renewal, and I decided to forgo those. I let them lapse. I got a .blog name, and a little bit different experience. But
did you get John.blog?
No.
I got Hogg.blog.
Really cool.
Yes.
and actually, I didn't check, but my name was available, johnparkinson.blog. And a few days afterwards, I got an email from WordPress.sawbuck, SAWBUCK.com, asking me to verify that I did sign up for that. I thought it was spam. I checked on one of the WordPress Facebook groups, and Niall Flores actually verified at WordCamp US that it was a legitimate email address and procedure. And I followed through and got verified, and everything was fine. I actually thought it was spam and was going to discard it. But yeah, it was from WordPress.sawbuck.com.
Where did you register your domain? Like through
the Get blog?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't get that email through.
Your website's
like
still working?
Yeah, totally.
Let me see if it's available.
It definitely is. Yeah. Post it on today.
And it may have been something that I didn't follow through with signing up initially, but it was a little bit different experience for me anyhow, not having signed up that many domain names. But it worked, and it was available. I'm actually saving a few bucks a year. And so I consolidated 3 blogs into one, and actually gave up 2 hosting plans and got everything on one shared plan that's already being paid for. So yeah, it worked out.
Awesome. Brian, what have you got to share with us today?
I think the one that really jumps out is a recent episode of a competing podcast, the Matt Report, where Dan Cameron was on from Sprout Apps. And I've met him a couple times briefly at Pressnomics, and I think he was at WordCamp US as well this year. And he just was really talking about his desire to keep things small, but also the way that he was able to grow to where he is now. But just there's a ton of pressure, especially when you're in any kind of business, to just constantly be growing. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. And just hearing it kind of firsthand from someone who, is just like, you know what, I could do all this other stuff, but I'm providing for my family, and that's that. And I have the time to spend with them because I don't have employees and all this stuff. So it was a really cool episode, a bit longer than their normal length. I think they're normally around half hour. This is, I think, a little over 1, but totally worth it if you have any interest in, the WordPress business side of things. So yeah, that would be my pick. And I guess can I do 2?
Nope.
If you maintain any plugin,
Go ahead.
All right. There was a script. I was looking actually during WordCamp US. A lot of people are like, I can never remember the freaking. Was it? I'm using Git. Yeah, freaking. Yeah. Is that I use Git for all of my development, so I can never remember, all the commands to actually update a free version with SVN. So there's a deploy script. If you just search for like deploy.sh, it's a script that it's not exactly what I'd like to do. And I've got a GitHub repo to create a script where you can just go git push production master or whatever your branch, and it'll push it up to your kind of local SVN. But this one will actually check out your SVN. It'll create a new tag. It'll do all that stuff. You can't really use it to just update your readme.txt in your plugin, but it will let you, without the nuances of SVN, it'll just let you update and push an update to your free plugin. So check that out.
Nice. That is pretty sweet. Thanks for sharing, Brian.
No problem.
Good stuff. All right, we're off to a good start, you guys. Episode 125 is rolling, and now it is time for us to learn more about Mr. Brian Hogg.
Yes.
So, Brian, if you don't mind, we're going to dive into the background just a little bit. There's a remote, I'm sure, that there's someone tuning into this video now or in the future who doesn't know your entire backstory. Jeez. So for that person.
So I was born in...
Yeah.
How far back do you want me to go?
For that person who doesn't know the story yet, we're going to dive into it just a little bit. So in particular, I want to dive back a little bit, but not way too far. So let's specifically go before WordPress, before your career really got on track. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you wanted to do with your career before you really had one. What is it you set out to do professionally?
Kind of a weird, because if you go pretty far back, and I was already on that professional path. So I started developing when I was about 11, 12, spending a lot of late nights doing coding, such things. And when I was actually 15, launched my first startup before startups were even called startups, an online bingo game that, my mom, because I lived with my mom because I was 15, thought, oh, you know what? Bingo game could be cool because you want to learn how to do client server programming. This was like Visual Basic 4 or 5 desktop Windows app kind of thing. So, so I created this online bingo game. By the time I was 16, it was one of the #1 online bingo games on the net. This is back when it took like an hour to download the exe, and I'd still get emails being like, how do I download this? I'm like, literally, it's blinking. It's on the homepage. Download now. You just got to click that thing and install it, and that's how you download it. 55 plus female, retired, who thought my voice was sexy, calling the bingo. I actually picked up those wave files not that long ago, and it was like the crappiest microphone, like one of those like cheap plastic ones. Do you remember? Right? They were like that long. It's super
Right.
small. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how they thought that, but that's okay. So so I continued running that for a bit while I was in university. Ended up going there for, even though I was thinking, you know what, I don't need to do this university thing, but went for software engineering and management, which was a 5-year undergrad, which is supposed to teach you not only the software engineering side, but it's also most of a commerce degree. So it's really supposed to teach you to do the business side of things as well. But I think out of the entire graduating class, not just in software engineering, I think it was the only one who didn't get a full-time job. I did like a summer internship and I've done some full-time jobs here and there, but I think it was the only one who didn't get a full-time job after graduation. Just a lot of people thought, oh, I'll do it for a year or two, but then obviously you get used to it. So yeah, that was surprising because it's what the program is supposed to be. So I've been doing consulting, freelancing, whatever you want to call it, for a long time, since I was 16, and just building that up slowly. But more recently, it's been on the product. I've got one course already and another one in the works, and really trying to push that out. So skipping over a few years, but that's a pretty good background. I'm married with cats. That's where I'm at now.
Me too. Right. So I want to understand a little bit more about some of the kind of work that you found yourself doing. So you said you've been doing consulting work since you were 16. Has it always been a similar service that you were providing?
No, a lot of the work I did early on was IT support type stuff. Actually, I was 16 when someone who I'm still friends with and was my boss for a few years when I was doing part-time. I don't think I ever did full-time, but just IT support for Bell stores, Bell Mobility, Bell World. They're like a chain of mobile shops here in Canada. I don't think they have them in the States. And yeah, I would just do the IT support for them. I started that when I was 16, and that was spread out across a few different cities that this one company kind of owned. So I was doing a lot of that, a bit of software development. Actually created a reconciliation software, which they literally had stacks of paper like this high that they bring their kids in to go, okay, we're supposed to get this from Bell. Did we? Here's the other stack of paper. Do we get this? I'm like, okay, seriously, there needs to be some better way to do this. So I created a little Visual Basic program that would be installed on every single POS. They had these little text files that were on there. It would scoop all those up, pumped onto kind of a central server, and do all the reconciliation in 10 seconds or something. And it took them 24 man hours to do before. So that was a pretty sweet first project where you a few lines of code saves literally hours of human time. So that's been the driving force with a lot of the projects. I do a lot of stuff for a local university here on a risk management platform. So anytime a student wants to run an event, they have to get it squared away with them. And again, that saves people a ton of time versus pushing paper around to do the same thing. And hopefully saves some silly events from, oh, you have alcohol on a bus and you're going to be in the woods. Yeah, I don't think we're going to approve that event.
Right.
That would be bad.
With firearms.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, it's another yes or no option. So a lot of projects like that for Mac as well. But yeah, so I definitely shifted away. I don't do any IT support except for my mom now. But even actually, I can't even. She's learned more than I do. She's on Windows 10, so I haven't been on Windows for a while. So she's doing her own IT support now.
Yeah.
I feel bad. It's how do I connect to that? I don't know. I just plug it in and it works.
Hey, Mom.
She's in England, so I can't even go there and see.
Oh, wow.
See what's going on. So yeah. And I've done some contract work in England as well. So that was fun times as well.
Wow. Quite a lot of experiences.
Yes.
So what drove the transition to being primarily focused on web development?
Oh, not wanting to fix computers.
There are other alternatives besides IT.
It's true. I did do a bit of server management, for web platforms. Managed a rack actually out of near Heathrow Airport one of those unmarked buildings where you have to drive up, and the fence raises, and you do a retinal scan and whatever. So I did a bit of that, and it's like, oh, there's a problem. Oh, it's a lot of flashing lights. I don't really know. Don't really know what any of those do, but let me just try turning some off and on again. See how that goes. But yeah, no, it was really just the fact that, especially with desktop apps, that you can have an instant update, right? Like before, if you had an update, and I guess it's sort of the same with plugins, right? They still have to update it, but you can push out an update now. And if it's just to the website or a SaaS-based app or whatever, everyone gets a new version right away. Super cool. And yeah, you don't need to worry as much about hardware things, or people running on different operating systems. You have to worry about browsers, but not as much that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, it was a big push toward it. My first WordPress project wasn't until, I'm going to say 6-7 years ago, when I was tasked to take a Joomla extension and turn it into a WordPress plugin. So that was a pretty cool, because before it's like, I can write this in Notepad. I don't need WordPress. It's fine. Yeah, it definitely turned my view on that. Even after meeting Mike Little, actually, while I was living in England. He was at PHP Northwest, and I got to know him a bit there. Cool. But even then, and he's super cool about it too. He wasn't like, "Oh, have you heard of WordPress? Well, let me tell you." He was super obviously proud of it, and proud of a couple projects he's done, like with automated testing, where like phone operating system he worked on, where it had 10,000 inputs, random inputs, and never crashed, and he could test that because he wrote automated software for that. So yeah, super cool. But I don't think there's any one specific thing. One of the first projects was a website that was just a static site, but yeah, it's just kind of a gradual thing, transitioned over when I didn't want to fix computers anymore.
Well, John knows probably a thing or two about supporting computers, I would think. And I don't know how you feel about such a transition, John. There was a time too when I thought IT was in my future, and as you can see now, it is clearly not.
Yeah, I dabble in it periodically, just because that's part of my job, and for me, it's not so much the hardware, but it's the so-called support.
Yeah.
It seems like anything that has a cord attached to it, I get the phone call, and then the questions.
Yep.
And they don't know how to ask, so you have to dig and try to find out what they're trying to ask before you can answer it. So yeah, it's something that we've all have had to deal with.
It's always at the worst time of the day, right? Like there was this one store that'd be open till 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday. Why? Like, who goes to the mall at 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday? But nevertheless, it always broke at 8:15 p.m. when I'm like, it'll be fine. I can go to a movie, whatever. Nope. Call right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So yes,
pretty much for me. If there's any profession that involves printers, you can pretty much count me out. Those are evil machines.
Oh, you're one of those guys that just keeps hitting the print button when nothing happens, right?
And then it works, and then 50 pages. How many trees have you killed, Kyle? Yeah.
A lot fewer lately. Because my printer doesn't work.
John, do you want to head over and fix that for him?
I'll be there in about 6 hours.
Thanks, John. House calls are the best.
You'll hit a wall of snow on the way, so it might take a while.
That's okay.
Brian, can you tell us a little bit more about the scope of what you do today? We've alluded to it just a little bit, but we want to dive in specifically and understand exactly the services you provide and the products that you sell.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is on the custom development side. A lot of it is really, like, I'd probably say programming is 10% of it. A lot of it's asking the why question, which a lot of developers don't. They'll get a client that'll come to them and they'll be like, oh, I need this kind of website. I need this, these 10 pages. I need this thing. I need that thing. And without asking why, you're just setting yourself up for a world of hurt, because you don't know. There's never an anchor when they say, oh, can I make this button slightly greener? And you're just like, no. But if you don't have that why, exactly. It's like, if we're going to sit here for 2 hours debating the shade of green, that's probably not a good use of anyone's time. So a lot of it is, especially for larger, things like universities, they often don't know what can be done, what should be done. So a lot of it is just sitting down, having a discovery or road mapping session, I call them, where we all sit down and we record them usually, and we'll just be like, okay, well, why are you looking to do this project? Tell me a little bit about the project in general. Let them talk it out, and then ask, okay, why do you want to do this? What's the reason behind it? And if the thing, maybe, I don't know, then it's like, well, maybe this isn't a good project, because until you figure that out. But oftentimes they're like, well, we're spending hours of time doing this thing, or we're losing money doing this other thing. So so then we'll dive in a bit further. I'll ask more why questions, and then come up with a proposal and do that. But yeah, more and more these days, it's working on the 2 premium plugins I've got right now. One is the event calendar newsletter plugin, which links WordPress event calendar to say MailChimp or ActiveCampaign. A lot of the bigger features are with MailChimp. But yeah, that's a program or a project I'm working on for a couple of years, and been ramping up pretty well. And one a pro version of a shortcode plugin that I took over from someone that already had 10,000 active installs, which is pretty sweet. And for 3 months, I didn't, I was trying to think of what a pro version would be, but I was really just handling support and fixing any bugs and stuff like that. And but yeah, just I think it was 2 and a bit months ago, I launched a pro version that, compared to event calendar newsletter, was so much simpler in terms of functionality and ease of creation. Basically, free version looks like this. Not so good. You can add some CSS, but it's got a little bullet, in the LI element, and it doesn't look that great. But if you can know a bit of CSS, no problem. Pro version looks prettier. I'm not a designer, but it looks a little nicer. Here's the list view. Here's a compact view with a little thumbnail of the month and the day. Here we go. Buy now. So, in terms of marketing, it's a joke in terms of how, because the other one has so much more functionality and everything else, but people like pretty, apparently. So it's been selling pretty well. So it's hilarious where you can have the best design code and most complex thing, but really at the end of the day, it's just, okay, they're looking to accomplish a quick task, and sometimes a couple lines of code and a simple solution will kind of sell a lot better. And I mean, the first version of the event calendar newsletter as well was, I didn't even think it was worth doing pro, but basically I just like, okay, well, to filter by a category of events or a tag, which is, again, a few lines of code to display, an option of which categories you want to do. But luckily a friend of mine who's in a mastermind that I'm in, Phil Dirksen, is like, yeah, you know what? For someone who has a lot of events, being able to filter by category is absolutely a pro feature. So I said, cool. And that was the push to do it, because I thought I had to have this epic, huge feature to be able to have a pro version. But really, sometimes the simpler, the better to test the market. So very happy that he did that. So yeah, so that's a good chunk of time. And then I created one course already on Pluralsight on working with JavaScript and WordPress, which you can check out for free. If you go to brianhogg.com, it'll send you a code. But the new one I'm creating is actually just on the stuff I've been learning with creating pro plugins. So kind of maintaining free and a pro, and things to think about before doing a pro, and even things to think about if you're going to do a free. So yeah, been scoping that out. Got a fancy microphone like this, so it'll sound better. And yeah, I'll be starting to record that very soon. So.
That's amazing. That sounds like a lot of stuff you're dabbling in, but some pretty cool stuff. So tell us a little bit about how you divide your time, and like maybe what a typical day looks like for you.
For sure. A lot of the consulting I tend to do by the week. So for example, I was booked out for a couple of weeks in November. So basically those weeks I'm not doing a ton else, a bit of support and whatever, but yeah, I'm not working on any other client projects. So it's nice. It gives kind of a finite beginning and end to the scope. We kick off at 10 a.m. on a Monday, and then Friday at 11 a.m. We'll wrap up. And then that way, I know when it starts and when it ends, and I can kind of schedule around that. But otherwise, it just kind of floats between. The last couple of weeks, I've been focusing on adding some new features. Didn't get as much done as I thought I would during WordCamp US, but that's all right. had a good time going there. And so I'm just wrapping up a couple of features, and then I'm really going to kind of sit that down and then start working on the course. So I really try to time block at least by the week what I'm working on, because switching between stuff, like I used to work on one project first thing in the morning, and then another one just before lunch, and a little after, and then another one in the late afternoon. It's such a mental shift. You're spending so much time flipping from one thing to the other. So trying not to do that as much anymore.
You're absolutely right. Bouncing around that way is it's difficult. And while you feel busy, at the end of the day, you don't really have the same level of productivity. So that's good. One of the things I like to ask about for anybody who's provided client services for an extended period of time is tell us a little bit about some of those horror stories from the past. This kind of projects from back in the day. Maybe you made some bad decisions with scope. You partnered with the wrong client. You subcontracted to the wrong person. Took on a project that was above your skill set. All these kind of things.
No, I have all the skills. That's Come on.
Are there any projects that you can think of that come to mind quickly from the past that at the time were anything but pleasant, but now you look back and hope?
Yeah, I mean, I think about this a lot, and we have myself and Chad Fullerton, we actually started the Hamilton Freelancer meetup. So we talk about a lot of this stuff quite often. And I did a presentation on it for example, different pricing methods, right? Because I've worked in the UK and they're super fond of the day rate, weekly billing, right? Hourly, which I'm super not a fan of at all, but still do for very, very old clients, a couple of them. And then kind of fixed price. So I've definitely, I'm sure everyone who's done a fixed price project I can remember one that they've been burned where they're just like, it was horrible. I did a fixed price and the scope went crazy. And so I definitely had a couple of those, and then swore off fixed price for a while until I will never do that again because that's horrible. Until Jonathan Stark, if you do services and you haven't, and especially in the tech space, and you haven't read his stuff, you really need to. Expensiveproblem.com. I'll actually have a coaching call with him on Wednesday just to go over some of the stuff on the consulting side to get a little more focus there. But one of his big things was like, okay, think of that fixed price project that you did. And okay, oh man, this sucks. Oh yeah, okay, I'm thinking I got it in my brain. Okay, now what if you would charge 3 times as much, 4 times as much? Would it have been so bad? No, actually, it would have been pretty good. So a lot of the time it's just not charging enough for it. And maybe it's, if you have a spreadsheet and you're trying to figure out hours, which is almost never correct, of how many hours this is going to take, that's super difficult, right? So, but no, a lot of it is just, charging what you're worth and charging what the project warrants a lot of the time, right? Like if you're going to come in and you're going to be able to save them a ton of money and you charge them a fraction of that, those are the ideal projects. But sometimes the ROI is just, I don't want my website to look crappy. Or, I just want this. I don't want to be embarrassed when someone does this thing in my product or whatever, right? And I just want it fixed. So it's definitely specifically the wrong thing has been charging too little, especially for fixed price stuff. And then a lot of the times, again, before I would ask the why, I would think, you know what, they know exactly what they want. It's a relatively small project. I don't need to know the why. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll just go do it, and then they'll be happy and everything. Yeah, exactly, right? It's exactly what I want to do. But this mic is new, and I don't want to bash my head with it. But so it's just, you see the flags, like they're so glaringly obvious and in your face that this is going to be a horrendous project with a horrendous client. And it's not that the client is necessarily bad. It's just they kind of are looking for someone who just, they can just, pay hourly and say what they want done, and or an employee, basically, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're coming in as a consultant and not an employee, then this is going to be a horrendous situation. So no, I've definitely had a couple of those. Not super too far in the future where I just haven't asked the why and enough to be convinced, and to convince them, and them convince themselves that it's a project worth doing, that I'm the right person for it, that now is the right time and not later, or maybe before it was the right time and now is not. So yeah, those have been a couple where asking why is a huge thing you need to do if you don't already.
It sounds like coaching and mentorship and masterminds and things of that nature have been a big part of your career. At what point did you begin appreciating the value of insight from other mentors, and how has it played a role in your business?
Oh, huge. I mean, just a lot of times you can just almost, sometimes it's trying to decide which decision to make, right? Like, oh, I could do this or this. What do you guys think? Let's get your input. But a lot of times you can be focused on the wrong thing too. You're just like, oh, I can't decide if I should do this or this. Like, why are you even doing that at all? why are you doing this thing versus that thing? So, I mean, we've got about 550 people in the local freelancer meetup, and just chatting with them, and especially a lot of them are just starting. So, I mean, it's been amazing to be able to just speak with them about what their businesses are at, and it just makes you reflect on your own. But yeah, I've got one mastermind one that I had earlier today that is specifically on the plugin side. And I'm pretty lucky to be in that group because they are eons ahead of where I'm going to be. But can see that I'm headed in the right direction, and are happy to chat through things. Plus, they've been in it longer than I have, so I sometimes come in with a fresh perspective on what they're doing. But the value's been just immeasurable, just in like, oh, I don't know, can I do that? And just having other people to be able to validate, who you trust and you respect, and can be like, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Like, why not? For example, the course, like, who am I to be doing a course on making pro plugins? I'm not Pippin, right? But I've learned stuff, and I can probably relate to people who are new to it, versus someone who's been in it for years and years. So yeah, no, it's been super invaluable having that insight, and just have some people to bounce ideas around in kind of a confidential setting, right? A lot of times you don't want to be thinking or discussing these things in kind of a public forum. So yeah, it's been super helpful to shape where I've been going.
Sure. So you're a solo at this time, is that correct?
Yes.
Have there been times in the past you've been doing kind of your own thing for a long time now? Have you partnered with other people in the past?
Yeah. And I forgot to mention that actually on the what are some things that you've made a mistake on? And it's been when I was hiring help and contract stuff and not vetting them enough was definitely an issue. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, you've worked on this exact same technology, on this exact same platform. Obviously, you can do it. And then they hop in and they cannot.
Obviously, they cannot.
Unfortunately, or at least not, now you're basically teaching them what to do, and why are you hiring them in the first place? So
oops.
Oops. So no, at one point I had 3 or 4 subcontractors. One of them got hired by Google, so I'm like, you know what, do I want to keep hiring people? And so I decided to just scale back and have it be myself. I might bring someone in, especially for the plugin side. It'd be nice to have somewhere where it's okay, no matter what support requests come in, no matter what marketing tasks I can give, a specific development, a new feature request or whatever to a developer, and have them put it in without any distraction, essentially, from the business side of things. So I'm debating doing that, but no, I definitely partnered. did one startup for about a year, and I still joke with the other guy who was involved, who's actually pretty big in the startup scene, and we're just like, oh, I wonder how our 10% is doing. There's nothing happening. So yeah, this whole they'll be the business side and you'll be the development side. Very rarely works out unless they come with like tons of customers and can really ramp up the business super fast. Definitely had that mistake as well, where we've partnered and been the tech person for equity or whatever, and it's just not worked out at all. So those have been some fun mistakes. You'll learn.
Yeah. Cool. So maybe give us a little bit of a preview about the details of this plugin course that you're creating. Who is this for? And how far along is it? When can people expect it to be released?
Yes, I mean, you can check out makingproplugins.com. It'll actually just redirect to a page on my site now, but it's I basically got the whole outline done. So it's really just starting recording. I just picked up this mic last week. I had a Yeti, actually, similar to yours, but it was picking up a lot of background noise. And I also had a Shure headset mic as well that I just couldn't get the volume right. And, if it's right by your mouth, you hear a lot of breathing, which isn't pleasant. So I decided to go for this. Recording will be starting next week. Unless some big thing happens with the plugin, which it actually might, because there's a big e-blast of a theme that I added support for that apparently might be going out to like 40,000 people. Wow, so fantastic. If a bunch of people buy it, that could be like, you know what, this might take priority. But yeah, it's so starting recording, have the landing page, you can sign up for updates, and it's really for people who it's not to teach you how to write a plugin. There's a lot of great resources for that. I think Pippin actually has a kind of an intro mini course thing on creating your first plugin and some things to think about. So there's a lot of great resources for that. It's really, if you have an idea for a plugin and you haven't created it yet, but you kind of know how to, or you're happy to hire someone to do it. And it's really to get you through, what should you think about between the free and a pro version, right? Like there's a lot of restrictions of the free. What should you expect in terms of, or how aggressive can you be to push people over to your pro version? Should you even do a free version to begin with? And then creating a pro version, right? And what platforms could you use? And specifically, I'm going to go through EDD. Just because that's what I've used. There's a lot of great platforms out there, but that one is, because it's hosted on your own site, even if hopefully, touch wood, Pippin gets hit by a bus and the plugin doesn't support it anymore, you have the code, you have the data, it's all on your own site, so you can just keep it going. Versus a hosted solution, if they go under, now your customers can't get updates. That sucks. So going through that a bit. And then, and then kind of some next steps on the marketing side of things. Was it Phil or Paul Jarvis is coming out with a bit of a marketing thing next year. So we might that might be a nice dovetail into that. But really, it's just putting a price to it, getting it out there, getting your first sale, setting up cha-ching on your phone. That is super important. Every time you get a sale, at least in the early days, unless you're getting a sale every 10 seconds, you want your phone to cha-ching because it is super motivating to get that money from people you've never met and may never even speak to if they don't have any issues. So, so setting things up and getting that first sale is really the goal of the course. So, and especially around, when it'll be released, you can help pay off some of the holiday bills. It'll be good. With some pro plugin sales.
I like it. So I've had a lot of people on the show, and one of the things that we talk a lot about is specializing and diversifying and just things like that. So you're basically working on three primary different things: your premium plugins, your consulting services, and your new course, which will be launching pretty soon. Sounds very exciting.
Yes.
So, from your perspective, in the space that you're in, what is the benefit of kind of differentiating in these three areas? Is it just kind of to keep things interesting a little bit to you?
A lot of it's, if one thing is down a bit, you can, and when another thing's up, you can focus on that, right? Like on the consulting side, even if you've got a nice pipeline, chances are there'll be some times when maybe you don't have clients for a month or two or whatever. So great. I can just focus more effort on the other things during that time, and just be able to, to flip between things is definitely an interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, if one of the plugins takes off and gets to like WP Touch level, that might be 100% of the, that would be 100% of the focus at that point, right? But at this point, a lot of it, not experimenting, but just seeing what resonates with more people, what more people are looking for, and what I should focus more of my time on. But yeah, it's nice through the 3 different avenues to be able to help as many people as possible as well. Someone who's buying a $49 to $99 plugin is probably not going to, might not be the type of person who's looking to do, multiple $1,000 custom projects, right? So the fact that you can give that same benefit, at a larger scale is pretty sweet. And that's part of the course stuff as well, right? Instead of teaching someone one-on-one or discussing something one-on-one with something, you can create this online video course that allows you to reach a whole bunch of people at the same time. And it's super cool. So I really like that kind of one-to-many type thing. And that's why I'm trying to push toward but I still love the consulting side, because you can create a huge benefit for one person or their company, and it saves them hours upon hours, or makes them a lot more money so they can spend more time with their kids, or in my case cats, and just I love that side of things as well. So
So when you look at these different parts of your business, can you speak to what maybe the future looks like, or what you hope the future looks like if things go really well with all 3 areas of your business? What kind of differences do you hope to see in a year or two with maybe how your time is spent?
Oh, for sure. It definitely, like I said, I'm pushing more toward the product and the course side. So in that sense, if things go as well, it's actually been growing quite well on the plugin side the last couple of months. I'll just be, I look at, how many sales you got. You're like, oh, wow, I've helped that many people, accomplish their goals over the last, a few months. That's pretty awesome. There's no way I could have consulted with that many people. So it's pretty sweet to be able to keep that going and pushing. And then obviously if the features are kind of in a nice spot and I've got maybe someone helping on support or whatever, just being able to spend more time and volunteer more. I mean, I've run the WordCamp Hamilton the last couple of years. I've also done the freelancer meetup group. We've got our WordPress meetups. I've got a couple podcasts that that have reached a lot of people and they've been happy with. So being able to spend more electronic music, I was actually looking to do not to create electronic music, but help artists get paid what they deserve. So I've been in touch with a lot of people on that and the platform, but that doesn't look as much with in terms of a business, but it'd be more just to help artists, get paid what they deserve and stuff like that. So, just being able to spend more times on things that aren't necessarily revenue generating, but will again help as many people as I can. So, that's kind of where we want to go.
That's powerful, and amazing that that mentality of just thinking about it as the number of people that you've helped, looking at the number of sales, looking at the number of people participating in your event or your clients and thinking of all of them as just, this is the sheer number of people that I've helped in some way is, I think, just such a wonderful way to look at it.
That's pretty sweet. No, I've years ago was just motivated by, what will get the most money. It's so demotivating so fast, and you'll attract like the worst people, the people who are just looking to make the most money and get the most out of you. And it's just not worth it. So just having that shift where it's like, what, even if nobody buys this thing, and it helps a couple of people, like, am I happy with the fact that I've helped them and that I enjoy working on that project? Yeah, cool. I'm good to go. So it's, definitely a nice way to think about things.
Hey, Brian, you'd mentioned WordCamp Hamilton. How many years has that been in existence?
So it was run once before I was involved, and we're actually looking for someone to kind of ramp it up for next year as well. But I ran it for the last 2 years. So essentially 3. There were 3 WordCamp Hamiltons.
Okay.
It took a break for a year because they ran the WordCamp excuse me, but then didn't have meetups. So the next time when I came on board, they're like, no, you should have some meetups first. I'm like, that makes sense. We should have a local community built up a little more, even though Hamilton actually has a great developer community and design and everything else. Like there's softwarehamilton.com that you can check out and see all the events that are happening, not just WordPress related. So yeah, it was nice to kind of piggyback on that and start growing the Hamilton side of things. We sold out 200 people both years. Great venue over at the McMaster Innovation Park, and it's been good.
And how far away are you from Buffalo?
Oh, about an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Less than 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, it's not too far at all. And then so I guess we're sort of in between because of the lake, Buffalo and Toronto. Yeah,
those pesky falls,
right? More Lake Ontario. It's a big body.
Dam them up and build a highway.
They used to have a ferry that ran back and forth between Toronto and Rochester, but not enough demand. So it's not running anymore. But yeah, no, not too far at all. Ann Arbor is also not too far. It's about 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Really?
Beautiful area. Yeah. I was actually surprised. Like, whoa, this is awesome. It's the prettiest part of Michigan I've been to.
Well, it takes me 5 hours to get to Ann Arbor and about the same amount of time to get to Buffalo. How are you?
So you're saying you should live in Hamilton or Cambridge area? Is that what you're saying?
It'd be closer to both. Gee whiz. What am I missing out on? Traveling I'm doing.
We're welcoming.
It's a good thing I drink heavily when I drive.
Water.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really hope that there's a WordCamp Hamilton 2017. It's been on my radar for a couple of years, and
awesome.
If it gets official, what can you tell me that might persuade me to put it on my calendar?
It's usually around June. Hamilton's a great city. I mean, I've got a whole, if you go to discoverhamont.ca or just brianhogg.com and click on podcasts, you can hear about all the wonderful people that are in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and all the cool stuff that they're doing. So in addition to checking out the WordCamp and all the great talks, you can peruse on James Street North and check out all the arts district, and especially, I think, if we did it on the second Friday, there'd be a big arts crawl that you could check out. Crawling because you check out art and then you also go to bars. So you're crawling a little bit by the end of it. We've got the mountain, which is, not really a mountain, more like an escarpment or a mesa, as I heard, a little table that you can walk up via stairs or a quick drive, which is very scenic, and a lot of parks and everything else. So, just a really cool community feel city that, it used to be a city that was more around industry. DeFasco and Stelco and all these steel making companies were kind of there before, and they're kind of fallen by the wayside, and information technology and startups and art, especially in music, are really kind of taking the forefront. So it's a pretty cool place to check out, even if you're not there for a WordCamp.
Wow. That's a winning endorsement. So, thank you, Ryan.
And his voice was so full and rich while he was explaining that.
It's because of this low frequency equalizer knob. I love this thing.
All the tricks. So, what kind of things do you do in your spare time, Brian?
Spare time? What? Well, I'm married, so no. I've actually, I've actually cut back quite a bit. Like I used to work way more hours than I do, and I mean, Pippin's talked about it a lot, and Corey Miller, and I did a talk actually last year at a DevTO, a Toronto-based development conference on things that I've learned about stress and imposter syndrome and all that good stuff. So try not to work as much, but running the meetups for sure. Listening to electronic music, hanging out with my wife, going on trips, done Iceland and Majorca, and half British. So visited family out there, doing that kind of stuff. So got to get back into guitar. I've got a guitar here that's been collecting dust a little bit over the last couple of years, but definitely enjoy that. So it's not a ukulele. It's not as cool as Megan, but I try. So, and doing podcasts as well. Podcasting. There you go. We got betweentwoposts.com, and you can check out a
Yeah.
couple episodes.
Yeah, I've listened to that.
Oh, good. You
Yeah.
enjoyed it, I hope.
Yeah.
I've got 5 episodes in the bag, but yeah, just gotta find that free time to edit them. But there are some other great chats as well coming up.
Cool.
Really excited.
This is good. This is live. We don't have to edit it at all. It's just done. So.
No matter how bad I screw up.
Right? If you had guests just like swear and you're like, crap, we can't cut that out.
Oh, that has totally never happened. Are you?
What are you talking about? Do you have like a button you can push? Like, no.
Yeah. I forgot to tell you. You have to warn me before.
You've been pushing it the whole time I've been talking. Yeah. Like, nobody's heard anything I've said. It's just been,
I'll edit every non-swear word back in.
Oh, too funny.
Yeah. All right. So looking ahead, what's on your calendar for probably not much the rest of this year, I would imagine. But where might people bump into Brian Hogg in 2017?
So I will be heading to Pressnomics, which I wasn't thinking about doing, but a guy who I met over at Cabo Press, Chris Wallace, actually organized a Airbnb there. So he said the king bed in the room that I reserved rotates and vibrates. Oh, wait, no, I'm not sure about the rotating part. So it sounds like it's going to be a fun weekend.
Oh my God. Beers too.
Yes. And it is my birthday that first day. So I'm like, do I want to go? But yes, Pressnomics is a great conference if you haven't been. So I'll be there April 6 to 8, I believe. And then something that weekend before I fly back on the Monday. Apart from that, I don't actually have any WordCamps planned. There was Sunshine PHP in February. I'm trying to I want to drive south at some point. So if there's some kind of south conference in February that people can suggest, feel free to let me know. I was hoping LoopConf is actually going to be down there in Florida, rescheduled for February, but they are in Salt Lake City, Utah, so not warm. But no, apart from that, nothing planned. WordCamp US would be nice to go again. I know Halifax, I think, is running in May. That'd be awesome to check out. And then I'll be in Colorado in August, but that'll be watching my wife run Pikes Peak Marathon. So
neat.
As I go, good job, and then take a trolley up to the top and wait for her with a coat. I feel so lazy when she does stuff like that. Like she did the Scotiabank amazing, the half marathon in a great time. And yeah, I'm just like sipping my tea, looking at my phone. And like, oh, she's ran 13.1 kilometers. That's cool. Sip. Like, I am so lazy. Why am I doing this?
That's pretty awesome.
So that's where I'll be.
Okay. Well, I look forward to bumping into you there, and don't hesitate to cross over the river to Michigan. We're igniting fires left and right here to try and get more events happening.
Why are you igniting fires? That's scary.
Metaphorically speaking.
Oh, okay.
Spreading inspiration across the various communities in the state. Say, hey, let's work together. Let's get more events in the mitten.
Awesome.
And try and catch up and eventually surpass what our neighbors to the south are trying to pull off. But
very cool.
Our good neighbors to the south.
Is that a slam?
No, moving on. Brian, do you have any great suggestions of guests that I might invite on the show in the future?
Have you had Chris Flanagan on?
Chris Flanagan? No, in fact.
Oh, you need to. He's episode 2, I believe. Or Josh Pollock, if you haven't had him on either. Or
John.
Lucas Szykuski, whose name I can now pronounce thanks to having him on our podcast. But Lucas is someone I met, actually, I think he was 13 or 14 when he came to WordCamp Toronto Developer Edition.
Wow.
And yeah, he spoke earlier than that, and he's just, I think he will be, and we're pretty much in consensus that he'll be the president of North America at some point. He's based in Canada, so he probably can't be president of the United States, but he's just going to bring everyone together, and we're going to be all one big family, and he's going to lead the way.
Cool.
But he's a really super smart guy, so yeah, it'd be really cool, I think, to have him on.
Great. Those are some really good suggestions, Brian. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And we're pretty much wrapping up our time here. So, John, do you have any other questions before we part ways?
No, I'm good. It's very interesting. I appreciate you letting me come on and take part. And Brian, it was good to see you. We probably met up in Buffalo,
I
but
believe so. Yep, a couple
uh,
times.
yeah.
You're tall, right? Heard
Oh
you say
yeah,
floating
yeah.
head form, but yeah.
But I'm old too, so
See, slouching a little bit.
and actually, I'm starting to get a
Oh.
halo here. I don't know what's going on with that.
It's the light above your head. It's perfect.
Somebody's calling me.
Yeah, very angelic.
Never been called that.
Just in time for the holidays.
Do the lead in for Santa Claus.
Right?
Oh.
Yo, Adrian.
Amazing.
Brian, as we wrap up, any parting words of wisdom and directions for anybody who would like to get in touch with you for any reason?
There you go. Well, brianhogg.com is the place to go for that. Hogg.blog if you just want to check out electronic music links. Just add a couple pictures of sunsets. I'm pretty sure that's all I've got on there. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's just if you've got any ideas for a new cool thing to create, if you're a developer or pay some to create, yeah, I mean, 2017 is your year. There's no reason why. Open source and the community, and we're here to help. So, yeah, if you have any questions or anything else, feel free to reach out.
Fantastic. Absolutely excited and grateful that you came to join us, spend this hour with us. Thank you so much for your time, Brian. It's been great.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
All right. That's episode 125, folks.